First response. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge of the Earth exploration vessel Swift Venture, her eyes fixed on the holographic display where an unknown ship's energy signature pulsed weakly against the vast backdrop of stars. Her crew worked with the quiet efficiency that came from years serving together in deep space, but tension filled the recycled air. "Captain, we've completed our scan," Lieutenant Captry reported, looking up from her station. "It's definitely a distress signal, but nothing in our database matches the pattern. The ship's design is unlike anything we've encountered." Elena nodded, her mind already running through protocols. First contact was always a possibility on these exploration missions, but finding an alien vessel in distress wasn't how she'd imagined it happening. "Earth Command has responded to our report," Commander Davis said, touching his earpiece. "They want us to maintain distance and wait for the diplomatic corps. Estimated arrival time, 32 hours. Elena's jaw tightened as she studied the readings more closely. The alien ship's power systems were deteriorating rapidly, radiation spikes indicating critical cascade failures. "Those engines won't last 6 more hours, she said, pointing to the fluctuating energy patterns. "If we wait for permission, we'll be recovering bodies, not making first contact." She straightened her uniform jacket, decision made. "Prepare a rescue team. We move now." "Captain," Davis said quietly, his face showing both concern and understanding, "this goes against direct orders." Elena met his eyes. "I understand. Note your objection in the log, but I won't stand by and watch people die, human or otherwise, when we can help." The Swift Venture approached the damaged vessel cautiously. It was beautiful in its alien design, crystalline structures interwoven with what appeared to be living material, all glowing with internal bioluminescence that flickered like a dying heartbeat. "No response to hails," Lieutenant Wu reported from communications, "but our scans show approximately 15 life forms aboard. Life support is failing in multiple sections." "Dock at the emergency access point," Elena ordered. "Medical team and security, stand ready." The rescue team, led by Elena herself, entered the alien ship through an airlock that seemed to adapt to their presence. The atmosphere was breathable, but carried an unusual scent like ozone mixed with something floral. The corridors curved organically, illuminated by the same bioluminescent material they'd observed from outside. They found the aliens gathered in what appeared to be a central command chamber. The beings stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender, graceful bodies that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their skin showed patterns of bioluminescence similar to their ship, and their 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, widened at the sight of the humans. One stepped forward, distinguished from the others by elaborate markings across its torso. "A leader," Elena guessed. "I am Captain Elena Reyes of Earth," she said, keeping her hands visible in what she hoped was a universal sign of peace. "We received your distress signal." The alien touched a small device at what Elena presumed was its throat. After a moment it spoke, the words slightly delayed as if processed through translation. "High Observer Nilan of the Novanian Collective," the alien said, voice melodic despite the translation. "You responded to our signal." "Yes," Elena replied. "Your ship is failing. We can help repair it or evacuate your people to ours." Nilan's 4 eyes blinked in an unsynchronized pattern. "You acted without authorization from the Galactic Confederation." Elena frowned. "We don't know any Galactic Confederation. We saw you needed help, so we helped." The aliens exchanged looks and gestures that Elena couldn't interpret. Nilan made a flowing motion with long, 6-fingered hands. Most species would wait for proper channels. Confederation permission. Documented protocols. Assessment procedures. "People were in danger," Elena said simply. "Where I come from, that's all the permission we need." The Swift Venture's engineers helped stabilize the Novanian ship while the medical team treated injuries. Elena learned their vessel had been damaged during a research mission studying a nearby pulsar. Their propulsion system had malfunctioned, sending them off course into an uncharted region. Earth's sector. 3 days later, as repairs neared completion, a massive ship appeared in the system. It dwarfed both the Swift Venture and the Novanian vessel, shaped like an elaborate geometric structure that seemed to fold in on itself in ways that hurt the human eye to follow. Confederation representatives, Nilan explained, anxiety evident in the fluctuating light patterns across their skin. 5 different alien species came aboard the Swift Venture, each dramatically different in form. One moved within a hovering liquid environment. Another walked on multiple jointed legs, while the apparent leader resembled a tall, thin humanoid with iridescent skin that shifted colors with each movement. "I am Senior Arbiter Vezim," the leader said, its translator producing precise, emotionless words. "You have interfered in Confederation matters without authorization." Helena stood her ground. "We answered a distress call, as any decent people would. You have no standing in Confederation space. No permissions were granted. No protocols were followed." Vezim continued, its skin darkening to a deep purple. "The Novanian vessel should have followed emergency procedures by activating their beacon and waiting for authorized assistance. With respect," Elena replied, "the only permission needed to save lives is the ability to do so." Vezim made a sound like crystalline wind chimes. Perhaps a sigh. "Humans, we have monitored your transmissions for decades. Always rushing. Always acting without complete information. Sometimes waiting for complete information means it's too late to act," Elena countered. The Confederation representatives conferred among themselves using translators that hummed and clicked. Finally, Vezim turned back to Elena. "The Galactic Confederation acknowledges your initiative in this isolated incident. However, Earth is hereby granted only observational status. You may send representatives to learn our ways, but you may not act independently in Confederation space." "And if we find others in danger?" Elena asked. "You will follow proper protocols," Vezim said coldly. "Your species requires guidance and monitoring." As the Confederation representatives departed, Nilan approached Elena privately. "They fear what they don't understand," the Novanian said softly. "The Confederation values order above all. Each decision requires consensus from at least 3 governing councils. It has been this way for millennia." "That seems inefficient," Elena said diplomatically. "It is safe," Nilan replied. "Or so they believe. But some of us remember when action mattered more than procedure." The Novanian's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what Elena had come to recognize as amusement. "Your humans are interesting." Elena smiled. "We tend to cause trouble that way." "Perhaps," Nilan said, touching Elena's shoulder with a 6-fingered hand, "the Confederation needs some trouble." 6 months later, Elena sat in her office at Earth's newly established Confederation embassy, reviewing reports with growing concern. The Confederation had indeed granted Earth observational status, allowing a small contingent of diplomats and scientists to establish presence at the Confederation's central hub, an enormous space station orbiting a neutron star. What they'd learned was troubling. The Confederation comprised over 300 species across 7,000 star systems. Its bureaucracy was mind-numbingly complex, with decisions requiring multiple levels of approval through committees, subcommittees, and councils. Minor policy changes could take years. Major ones might take decades. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Lieutenant Wu entered, his face grim. "Another colony gone silent," he reported, handing her a data tablet. "Outpost Kappa 9. Population 8,000. Elena closed her eyes briefly. It was the 5th such incident in as many weeks. The pattern was unmistakable. Something was systematically attacking outlying colonies, and the Confederation response was painfully slow. The Confederation Security Council is still debating whether to officially classify the incidents as hostile actions. Wu continued. The assessment committee won't convene until next month. By which time how many more will die? Elena asked, not expecting an answer. She pulled up the data they'd compiled. The attacks showed a clear pattern of advance toward more populated systems. Whatever was responsible, the mysterious beings they'd begun referring to as the Voidborn. They were intelligent, coordinated, and lethal. "What's the status of our proposal?" she asked. Wu's expression was answer enough. "The preliminary review committee has scheduled it for initial consideration next quarter." Elena stood and walked to the window overlooking the vast Confederation hub. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds moved in precisely regulated patterns. Order, procedure, protocol. All while people died waiting for permission to be saved. Her communication device chimed with an encrypted message from Earth Command. Situation assessment complete. VOID threat Sci-Fi D8. Implement ingenuity protocol. Official changes insufficient. XT with discoration. Elena read it twice, then turned to Wu with determination hardening her features. "Contact Nilon and any other Confederation species who've expressed concerns about the response time. Tell them I need to speak with them urgently. Off the record." "Captain," Wu asked, surprised, "what are you planning?" Elena's smile was grim. "What humans do best, Lieutenant. We're going to break some rules and save some lives." As Wu left to carry out her orders, Elena looked back at the great wheel of the Confederation hub, where countless committees debated while colonies burned. No permission, she whispered to herself. No warning, just action. The greater threat. The secret meeting took place in an unmarked observation dome at the far edge of the Confederation hub. Captain Elena Reyes sat at one end of a curved table, with representatives from 7 different species arranged around it. Each had responded to her discreet invitation. Drawn by shared frustration with the Confederation's paralysis in the face of the Voidborn threat. "This meeting does not officially exist," Elena began, activating a privacy field that hummed softly around them. "If discovered, your governments may deny knowledge of it." Nilon, the Novanian she had rescued 6 months earlier, fluttered luminescent patterns across their skin. "We understand the risks, Captain. Our worlds face annihilation, while the Confederation debates terminology." 17,000 lives lost already, said Garrix, a representative of the Moradin people, reptilian beings known for their engineering prowess. "The Defense Assessment Committee still hasn't approved reconnaissance missions to the affected areas." Elena activated a holographic display showing the pattern of Voidborn attacks. Earth intelligence confirms 12 major incidents in the past 2 months. The attacks are becoming more frequent and moving inward toward heavily populated systems. She highlighted a cluster of systems near the expansion front. "We project the Teresian colonies will be hit next. 6 worlds, combined population of 30 million. The Confederation knows this," said Sala, a cloudy, translucent being from the gaseous Venti collective, their voice emanating from a small translation device. "But the Central Defense Authority requires consensus from all 7 security councils before mobilizing the fleet, by which time the Teresians will be dead." Elena said flatly, "We propose something different. A coalition of action, independent of the Confederation, but drawing strength from all our worlds." Nervous murmurs filled the room. What they were discussing went against everything the Confederation stood for. Unified, carefully considered action, approved by consensus. How would this work? Asked a crystalline being who represented the silicate Karathi. Elena stood, highlighting different sections of the projection. Earth tactical doctrine emphasizes field authority. Our commanders aren't just allowed to make decisions. They are expected to. We formed joint strike teams, each with clear objectives, but how they achieve those objectives is up to the team leaders. No calling home for permission, no 14-stage approval process. "But the risk of mistakes," began the Teresian representative, a tall being with 4 arms and iridescent eyes. "Exists," Elena acknowledged. "But so does the certainty of defeat if we do nothing." After hours of debate, they reached agreement. The coalition of action would operate in secret, sharing resources and personnel. Earth would provide tactical leadership, while alien allies contributed their unique technologies and knowledge of Confederation space. 2 weeks later, the first mission launched. 3 small, fast ships piloted by human, Novanian, and Moradin crews. They slipped undetected into the Verax Nebula, where void-borne ships had been detected gathering. In the command center established on an abandoned mining station, Alina watched the mission unfold with Commander Davis at her side. "Should we establish communication protocols?" Davis asked. "What if they encounter unexpected resistance?" Elena smiled slightly. "No protocols, just clear objectives and trust in our people. But what if they need to change the mission parameters?" "Then they'll adapt," Elena said simply. "That's what humans do best." The mission encountered a void-borne patrol and had to divert from their planned route. The human captain made the call without consultation. When they discovered a void-borne staging area larger than intelligence had suggested, the Moradin weapons officer proposed planting monitoring devices directly on the void-borne ships instead of in surrounding space. They returned with valuable intelligence and no losses. The pattern repeated. Human decisiveness combined with alien knowledge proved a powerful combination. The coalition struck void-borne staging areas with surgical precision, disrupting their plans before full-scale attacks could form. At the Confederation, rumors spread. Some counselors demanded investigations into unauthorized military activity. Others pretended not to notice as the void-borne threat receded from their borders. 3 months into operations, the coalition faced its greatest test. A massive void-borne fleet targeted the Teresian system, home to over 30 million sentient beings across 6 habitable worlds. Confederation Defense Fleet is still awaiting final deployment orders, reported a coalition intelligence officer. They'll arrive days too late. Elena surveyed the assembled coalition forces, a ragtag fleet of ships from 7 species, all operating outside official channels, all willing to act without the Confederation's blessing. "We stand together," she told them through the fleet-wide communication. "Each ship captain has full authority to act as needed within the battle. Our strength is in adaptation, not rigid formation." The battle lasted 26 hours. Coalition ships moved in fluid, unpredictable patterns that confused the void-borne. When one tactic failed, captains tried another without waiting for approval. The human-designed electronic countermeasures protected key positions, while Moradin weapons targeted vulnerabilities the Novanian sensors had identified. As the last void-borne ships retreated, the coalition counted their losses. 8 ships destroyed, hundreds of lives lost. But the Teresian system and its 30 million inhabitants had been saved. Elena was reviewing damage reports when an alert sounded. A massive Confederation vessel had entered the system, flanked by diplomatic escorts. "Looks like the bureaucracy finally caught up," Davis remarked dryly. Senior Arbiter Vazim arrived with a delegation of high-ranking Confederation officials. They requested, with formal diplomatic language that barely concealed their fury, to meet with the coalition leadership aboard the Confederation flagship. In the austere meeting chamber, Elena and representatives from the other coalition species faced the Confederation High Council. "You have violated our most sacred protocols." Vazim's translator boomed, the Arbiter's skin pulsing angry red. "You deployed unauthorized forces. You engaged in military actions without approval. You shared restricted tactical information with non-member worlds." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but Elena noticed something interesting. The oldest species, those who had been Confederation members for thousands of years, seemed the most upset. The younger races watched in silence. 30 million lives saved, Elena said when the noise died down. The void-borne threat contained at its edges rather than allowed to spread inward. "Procedures exist for reasons," hissed Vazim. "What if your tactics had provoked the void-borne to greater violence? What if your coalition had damaged diplomatic relations with potential allies? What if?" With respect, Elena interrupted. "We didn't have time for what-ifs. The void-borne were killing people now." She stepped forward, her voice stronger. "We asked for permission to save lives. You gave us paperwork. We chose action." The chamber erupted again. Some counselors rose from their seats, various appendages gesturing wildly. Alina stood her ground while the storm raged around her. "Order," called the Confederation's Supreme Elder, a gaseous being contained in an ornate floating sphere. "This accomplishes nothing." The Elder drifted closer to Alina. "Captain Rise, Earth's observational status is suspended pending full investigation. Your coalition is to cease all unauthorized activities immediately." Alina bowed slightly. "As you wish. But know this, if the Voidborn attack again, we will defend ourselves and our allies, with or without your permission." As she left the chamber, Alina felt the weight of countless eyes upon her, some hostile, some curious, and some, she thought, admiring. Later that evening, as the human delegation prepared to leave, a gentle tone sounded at Alina's quarters. She opened the door to find Nilon waiting with representatives from a dozen different species, far more than had been part of their coalition. "You have visitors," Nilon said softly. "They prefer discretion." Alina followed them through unmarked corridors to a large meeting room. Inside waited representatives from over 30 species, most relatively new to the Confederation. A blue-skinned Eridani with feathery crests spoke first. "Your methods disturb the elders," she said, "but many of us remember when our own civilizations valued decisiveness. The Eridani were once explorers and risk-takers before we joined the Confederation." A blue-skinned Eridani with feathery crests spoke first. "Your methods disturb the elders," she said, "but many of us remember when our own civilizations valued decisiveness. The Eridani were once explorers and risk-takers before we joined the Confederation. The Moridans were warriors," added Garrix. "Now we debate for 12 cycles before sending aid to our own colonies." One by one, they shared similar stories. Confederation membership had brought peace and prosperity to their worlds, but also stagnation and bureaucracy. "We cannot openly support you," the Eridani said, "but neither will we condemn your actions. The Voidborn threat is real. And it's not over," Alina told them. "Our intelligence says they're regrouping for a larger assault. Will the Confederation be ready?" Troubled looks passed between the aliens. "The Defense Committee is still debating whether to officially classify the Voidborn as an existential threat," said the Teresian representative. "Assessment may take months." As the meeting concluded, Alina found herself walking alone on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. A shuffling sound made her turn. Supreme Elder Tavik stood there, the ancient gaseous being's containment sphere hovering silently. "You should not be speaking with me," Alina said. "Perhaps not. But I am old, even by my species standards. I have seen the Confederation grow and change." The Elder's sphere drifted closer to the viewport. "When I was young, we acted. We explored. We took risks. What happened? Success. Peace. Complacency." The Elder's gas clouded momentarily. "Our societies became paralyzed by procedure. We evolved to prioritize consensus over effectiveness. And yet you condemned us today. Because you frightened us," Tavix admitted, the translation coming through with surprising candor. "Not with your technology or your defiance, but with your reminder of what we have lost." The Elder turned to leave, then paused. "The Voidborn will return. The Confederation will debate. Consider what that means for all our peoples." As Alina watched the Elder go, her communication device buzzed with an encrypted message from Earth Command. "Coalition expansion authorized. Vanguard Protocol Phase 2 ET. Proceed at discoration." Alina looked back at the stars, a small smile forming. Perhaps the humans' way wasn't so strange after all. Perhaps they were simply remembering what others had forgotten. That sometimes, the only permission needed to do the right thing was the courage to act. Behind her, the doors opened again. Nilon entered with representatives from the secret meeting, their faces bearing expressions that transcended species differences. Determination. "The Confederation has ordered us to disband," Alina said. "And what will humans do?" asked Garrix. Belina's smile widened. "What we always do. We'll find another way." She activated the holographic display, showing the next predicted voidborn target. No permission. No warning. Just action. "Who's with me?" One by one, they stepped forward, a coalition born not of protocols and committees, but of the simple, universal desire to protect life, wherever it might exist. Through the viewport, the stars seemed to burn a little brighter,